What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Stop Yelling podcast. I am your host, Kayla Howard. How are you today? I'm doing fantastic. It's a little gloomy here in Chicago, but I have a special guest with me here today. But before I introduce him, I want to say welcome to all of my new listeners. We are happy to have you here. If you are not caught up on all of the episodes, if you're new, like I said, I would suggest maybe going and starting from the beginning or from the Throat Goat special. That is where I introduce my guest for the first time, so you will get to know him more today. But if you are returning, hi, hello, what the fuck is up? We are here with Nashville Boy. I have Nashville Boy sitting here with me right now. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. He's going to say hello in 1 second. But yes, he is here in Chicago, you guys. I am so happy, but I'll let him take over now.
Hello. Mysterious Nashville Boy is here in the flesh.
Hi.
It's good to be in Chicago.
How are you?
I'm good.
I love it that you're here.
Me too. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities in America. Always fun coming back here. Actually went to Loyola Chicago for undergrad and left to move to Nashville, where I'm originally from. Start a business back during COVID, but always miss it here. It's a great city, great people. And now I have a special reason to come visit even more.
Oh, you're so cute. So for the people who don't care to go and start back at the episode, let's just give a little backstory on how we met. And yes, you introduced yourself. That was a great introduction. Thank you for that. But how did we meet?
So I have a wedding to go to back in October. One of my fraternity brothers got married, and I needed a date. And we have a mutual friend who normally is my go-to wedding date, like just automatic. We've been friends for a long time. And she actually lives in Chicago. She was out of town, and so she actually introduced Kayla and I. So I asked her to go to this wedding with me. It was a completely blind thing, had never met before, but I just said, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And it ended up turning out really well.
Did it? I mean, you're here.
I'm here now. Yeah, we went to the wedding in Chicago, and then she came and visited Nashville, and now I'm here again. So it's always fun taking quick weekend trips.
Yeah, Nashville was so much fun. He took me down Broadway. We went out like one of the nights. Second night, we just did dinner and like a low-key night. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Now I got to bring him here, but he's been here before. So I'm over here like there's not really shit that I can show you, but we're still going to have fun. But we went to dinner last night. We had a really good time last night, honestly. I enjoyed that. I just love going to dinners with you because I just enjoy our conversations that we have. And that's like one thing that I do really value about you, about him. So one of my last episodes, I touched on one of the conversations that we had about feminism and masculine and female energy and how females are always living in their masculine energy. So I want him to explain his own opinion on it in the flesh because I couldn't do a good job of explaining everything that he said. So what do you feel about the male and female perspective and masculine energy and female energy?
It's a great question. I love when Kayla and I have some great discussions about things like this, and always happy to share my opinion. What I had told Kayla was that, I think in our society now we have kind of an imbalance with the masculine and feminine energy and just kind of how everybody interacts with each other. And what I told Kayla is, of course, modern world, things have changed. Women in the workforce, no longer in that very traditional type of role, but a lot of times I feel like women can get very unfulfilled when they're in their masculine energy, being forced to do things like support a household by themselves, work multiple jobs, and that more traditional provider and nurturer role in the household. I think that's, as an extension, has caused a lot of issues in our society and ultimately has led to a lot of unhappiness, in relationships.
Yeah, that was well explained. Yeah, I kind of told him that I agree with a female should want to be a female. Like, I don't want to have to, like, I want to nurture you, but I don't want to have to, like, hold your hand through shit, Like, I don't want to be the man in the relationship. But at the same time, I like the balance of that. I like feeling like I can take care of you and I can, like, you can come to me and you can depend on me as well as I can for a man. But what area do you feel females are forced to live in their masculine energy the most?
Well, it depends. There's a few different situations. I'd say when a man is not being a man, it requires the woman to step into that role, and then that creates that imbalance. So, as a man, a woman should let her man feel like a man. He needs to feel like he can protect and provide and be in his masculine energy so that he feels fulfilled. And at the same time, the woman will feel more fulfilled when she can let her guard down and doesn't have to take on that role. And so if you're a woman with an incompetent man child, then you're going to have to step into that role
Mm-hmm.
and feel like that. And that's going to cause a lot of unhappiness and stress in the relationship. When a woman is in her masculine energy and being combative and defensive and aggressive and everything, whether it's externally or internally in her own relationship, it's going to cause problems.
Yeah. I like that you said like when a female can let her guard down because that's huge. Because when you feel like you're in this constant like fight or flight mode, or like it's really hard to just like kind of let yourself go. And at the same time, I love when a man can get into his feels and be soft and cry. Like I want you to cry in front of me. But no, like I do like that warm side of a man.
Well, you see it all the time now in society too. Like look at any car commercial, for example. The woman's driving, the man gets to play the role of the dumb, stupid husband who needs to be coddled. So it's in media, it's being pushed on society in a way, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think it comes from the feminism movement and kind of the girl power vibe that we see. I mean, every movie's being remade to have just female leads, and we're really trying to counterbalance, I guess, how things were since the beginning of time, and now we're trying to compensate for, I guess, a lot of lost time and have kind of the woman in this power role. And don't get me wrong, I think there's great things about a woman who's career driven and wants to go out and make a life for herself and not be dependent. And that independence is power, and I think that there's definitely something to be said about that. But when you break down and try to rebuild the social fabric in a very short amount of time, I think it causes a lot of issues. So you may disagree with me on this, but I think that in a more traditional role setup, that leads to both being more fulfilled. Doesn't mean that both can't work, both can't share responsibilities in raising children or taking on responsibilities in the household. But ultimately, if that dynamic's off, the relationship will never be as fulfilling or as good as it could be.
I don't disagree with that. I do agree with that. I mean, everybody is in this, like, I don't need a man. I don't need this. I don't need that. And it's like, no, I kind of like how it was before. I want a man. I want to take care of you and you take care of me. Like, I don't want, trust me, if you know me and if you've listened, like I am a busy girl. I keep myself busy. I need 5 different jobs. I like that, but that's not the end all be all for me. Like I don't want that to be my forever, but I want to feel like I have a balance. But one point that you brought up to me when we talked about this before, you said that if you just have a hobby, if you're staying at home, you're taking care of the kids, you're playing this traditional woman role, you can still have a hobby and still have something that you want to do every day and have on your own time. Like, I feel like that's really important to be able to know that you're not just some slave working away at the house.
Yeah, everybody needs a purpose. So if you are in a more traditional structure in your relationship and say the husband's a provider and the woman doesn't work, the key is to have something still, a purpose to do. And that can, for a lot of women, that becomes raising children, maintaining the household, but even just having a hobby or something that gets you out of bed every day to do, and that's keeps you engaged and feeling fulfilled is incredibly important. That's where the issue arises, when you get bored and don't feel like you have a purpose.
Some females are okay with that. Some females are totally okay with waking up, taking the kids to school, making breakfast, making everybody's lunch, being home, having the house clean, dinner made when everybody gets back, cleaning up, the man's just sitting there. Like, some females are okay with that, but pick and choose what you want to do with yourself. But me personally, I do value that, like, I'm able to be this entrepreneur myself and do things that I can myself, but also feel like I can be a woman and taken care of.
Yeah, the perfect setup for me is to be in that provider role and have the ability, especially financially, to be able to not have my wife working. But it's great if she still chooses to work and does it because she's passionate about it, but not having the financial stress of, I need her income to make ends meet. It's a different situation entirely.
Yeah.
But allowing a man to fulfill that provider role lets him feel like a man, and he wants to take you shopping, go to dinner, open the door for you. Nothing frustrates me more than when I hold the door for a woman and she gets irritated by me doing that, or any sort of small token of chivalry. And over time, I think that wears men down. And society needs strong men that treat women like princesses, and we want to give them that treatment. So ladies, let us do it.
Well, no, the men need to want to do it. There's men that do not care to do that. And like with chivalry, it's like it's dead to everybody. And I appreciate, like, he opened the car door for me and I was like blown away. And I mean, it's happened maybe here or there in my lifetime, but like that's not something that a man nowadays would just think to do all of a sudden. You know, like that was something that you actually thought about doing. You intentionally did that for me, and that was just, it was nice. It was sweet.
Thank you.
But I want to hear some more about your opinions on things. And I spoke about body image last week and kind of voiced how, you know, body image is huge with females.
I was going to say, you always see that meme of the woman in front of the mirror and the man in front of the mirror. And the woman in the mirror, her reflection always shows a more negative body image than how she looks in real life. And for men, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You see the skinny guy who looks buff in the mirror, and you see the skinny girl who looks fat in the mirror. And I think it's just such a reflection of how we view ourselves. Mm-hmm. And of course, don't get me wrong, everybody gets insecure, men and women. But I think us men have a little bit more natural confidence in that department. We don't compare ourselves the same on social media the way women do. So it is an incredibly interesting dichotomy, I think, of how men compare themselves to other men and how women compare themselves to other women.
Do you feel like men compare themselves? Like in your friend guy group, do you guys catch yourselves looking at, like, so for girls, we look at girls' pictures and we pick and pull different pieces of the photo. We don't even know them. Like, do men do that with other men?
Men do not do that.
No.
And even in real life with our friends, we do not cherry pick features or physical traits, really. You can respect, like, if your boy's really built or has a good haircut, fresh fit, you know, you recognize that as a man, and I think it's awesome, but it doesn't come from a place of jealousy, like it could even in a tight girlfriend group. We evaluate ourselves or compare ourselves more on career elements and benchmarks that we're hitting in our life, mainly money. Financial comparison is the bigger point, right? And I think then the physical traits that women compare themselves to in real life or on social media.
Yeah. See, like with girls, we see girls and we're like, yeah, she has a bigger ass. She has it's all physical body type for us. Yeah, they could be doing great on social media. They could be doing well in their job or whatever. But ultimately, if you look better than me, yeah, I might have a little bit of jealousy. But I hate that is what it is for women. Why do you feel like, I mean, we already know kind of the answer. Like females are supposed to be the beautiful ones. We want to be the hot ones. Like I want to make sure that I'm looking good for my man, for myself, my girl, if I'm with a girl. Oh, that's a good question. We should jump to that. Oh my God, wait, hold on. I'm veering off really quick. Do you feel like girls are all bisexual?
I don't know if all of them are, but I think a large majority definitely have that curiosity. Kayla and I discussed this a little bit yesterday offline, but you know, it is interesting how women will kiss their friends or kind of explore that side, but it's way more taboo for men to do that. And obviously men don't do that. We don't kiss our friends or anything like that. But it is interesting to see. And I'm not sure exactly why it's like that. But
now, if you were to see me make out with one of my girls when I'm out, what would you think? Like, oh, okay, she's just like, yeah. Like, all right.
I'd say that's just what girls do. They kiss each other when they're drunk. I wouldn't really think anything of it.
Yeah. Well, so that's crazy though, because I've seen so many females date men that have turned out to be gay. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, if you are closeted for a while or whatever. But with females, like you go and make out with your girl or you go and like be a little lesbian in the club for a second and a man thinks nothing of it. But if I see my man do something sus, I'm going to be like, you're gay. But there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but why do you feel like that's a different dynamic?
It's a very difficult question. I have no idea why it's like that naturally. I just think that it's
like men liking men is like the worst crime versus a female liking a female.
Right. I mean, there's other things in life too that you can compare like that. It's not always equitable. I mean, I don't think that men really desire that the same way that women might in terms of exploring that or kissing their friend in a club. But it's definitely more taboo for men. Wish I had an answer.
No, you're okay. So I have a confession. I have a confession on the live mic right now in front of Nashville boy. So I think he kind of knows about this. So I'm a female. I'm 25. I've had some life experiences. I love men. I love a good man. I want to be with a man, but I have explored the females. I've explored 2 females in my life. How do you feel about me having been exploring 2 females before?
Well, I've dated girls that were bisexual, so it's nothing new to me to hear that. I think it's really interesting, though, is it doesn't feel, I guess, threatening as a man. You know, it's like if you're talking about another like male partner or that experience, it triggers something inside of a man. Whereas hearing you talk about being with a woman doesn't trigger that same response. There's no like jealousy aspects. Like if you got with a girl that's, you know, some guys would be like, oh, that's super hot. Like I'm, you know, more neutral on it, but it doesn't rub me the wrong way.
Oh, that's good to know. Actually, the first person I was ever with in my entire life was a female.
Really?
When I was super young. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like some women do it as they get really frustrated with men. They get out of a relationship or something, they're going to go explore that side of thing. I think it becomes a response of, for many women, having a traumatic relationship with a man and they go and try to explore something different. Mm-hmm. That's what I tend to see a lot.
Yeah. And no disrespect to the female I was with more recently, but that's what it was for me after my very toxic relationship. It was really recent. After my toxic relationship, I met this girl and I was like, you have me confused. Like, you have me so confused. I was just going through it. And it's honestly like if you have done that, it's totally okay to explore. I met this marvelous, marvelous person that has just introduced me to a whole new way of thinking. Like, I think you're amazing. Like, you have brought this like just fresh perspective to me, and I value that more than you know.
I appreciate that, Kayla. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you just said, I think that a lot of like women are more attracted to other women than I think we give credit to. I think it goes into just like the female body and being the more beautiful of the two. And like I think women are naturally more attracted to other women versus men being attracted to other men.
Well, the thing is I kind of explained this to him yesterday. Like with a female's body, like we know our anatomy. Like with a man, like it's easy for us to figure out a man's anatomy. Like it's just there, you know, but for a female, there's so many ins and outs to us and so many different ways to pleasure. And I think with being with a female and females knowing our bodies, like that's the best way to put it. That's the best way that we're going to get pleasured. Not all the time. I mean, men know what they're doing, you know, but for some women, that's like what is drawn to you. Like I've never heard a female not say that they've watched female porn. Like that's just what it is, you know? But how do you feel about females using like sex toys on their own? Not with their partner, but like just on their own.
I think I like to make an analogy to men watching porn. I think you go to the extreme with either example and it becomes a problem. The same way that porn for men desensitizes them and can hurt their intimacy, or even at the far end of the spectrum lead to erectile dysfunction. I think that women with vibrators and all these crazy toys that exist now can create a sense of pleasure that no real human being is capable of implementing themselves. So should women masturbate? Of course, but if it becomes too extreme to then you can't get pleasure from your man, then that becomes a problem. And the same thing on the other side of the aisle for men watching porn and, you know, becoming unsatisfied with their current partner because of unrealistic expectations that it sets. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I I can't believe you just said that. I've never like looked at it that way because like there's different levels to them. There's like suction ones, there's vibrators, there's dildos. Like you can pick your size, like you can do all of that stuff, and it's setting unrealistic expectations. Exactly. This is like
right. If you become desensitized, then you kind of did that to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like I love like when a woman has sex toys, it's like, oh, she's in touch with her sexuality. You know, it's hot. You can even incorporate them. But when it gets to the point that you can never replicate that, then you're like, well, this is going to be frustrating to a certain degree.
So you're okay with using them together then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some men, I think, feel a little bit emasculated by that, or it takes away from their own ability. But I think if it's used in collaboration, it can be good.
Yeah. Well, they almost kind of like bring more energy to the bedroom too. Like after a while doing the same thing, you know, you want to try something new. How do you feel? Well, I guess this is a better question really quick. Are you someone that wants a long-term commitment for yourself throughout your lifetime? And then if you are to say yes to that, would you feel like you would have to later down the line implement different things to keep it interesting?
Sure. Well, yes, to answer the first question, looking for a long-term commitment, of course. growing up, I've always wanted to have kind of that traditional family model that I grew up in with, have a wife, have kids. That's always been something that I've wanted to do. It's hard to put myself in the shoes of someone who's been in a long-term relationship for 10, 20, 30 years and what that looks like in the bedroom. But I'd imagine that at a certain point in which you need to spice it up or get creative. But at that point, you're so comfortable with that person, I don't think there's anything that would really be off limits, or, you kind of play that dance early on of maybe you're not as open about your needs or what you like or don't like. And that obviously the curtain's down by that point. So it's hard to put myself in those shoes to answer that question. But I'd imagine, because a healthy sex life is very important. And I think that a lot of people are trapped in sexless marriages, which also it's a whole other conversation about what that does, especially to a man. You hear it all the time. And I think a lot of men get scared to be in that long-term of a relationship where we both get comfortable and then you lose that sexual energy and excitement that you had when you first started dating. So I think the goal for people should be to try to maintain that. And it's a choice. It's a conscious effort on both parts. Everybody gets busy. Life gets in the way, but you have to make it a conscious effort to be intimate and be present with your partner all the time, even if you've been married for 30, 40 years.
Yeah. I saw a movie. One of my favorite movies of all time is Date Night.
Love that movie.
Favorite movies of all time. And for the longest time, I said, whoever I'm going to end up with, we need to have like the rule of the two. Like every 2 weeks, we're going to plan just like either something like we cook dinner at home. Every Sunday, we make it something that we wake up with breakfast. Once a month or every 2 months, we'll like go out and actually do something, like just to always have something to look forward to and to have that moment to center ourselves, be alone with each other and like feel appreciated again. Because when you're so caught in this go mode and you're high and by throughout the house and whatever, and you both working, it's hard to like come together and sit and do that.
Yeah, I think it's Jordan Peterson who commented on this for the first time. He said it's the little things that are the big things in a relationship. Like those little interactions, whether it's your morning coffee together, how you interact when you get home from work, not just throwing your bags down and jumping on the couch, like actually being present, taking a moment to ask your partner how their day was, how they're feeling, how they're doing, and whether it's a small act of service, cooking for them. Those little things are what makes your relationship, and people lose sight of that. It's not just about the birthdays, the trips, the gifts, the bigger events that people put a lot of pressure on. It's those little day-to-day interactions that make the relationship work. And I've always said that conscientiousness is the number one thing to have in a relationship. Thinking about your partner and their needs and just being in tune with that and very empathetic position will do you wonders if you just key in on that. Understanding how your actions and your words affect your partner and just being intentful in your interactions and being present with them. Those things will make or break your relationship.
I'm so glad that you brought up conscientiousness because I was going to ask you about that next. So thank you. I have the biggest smile on my face after you just said that. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that is important. I was going to ask what he feels is like the most important quality to have in a relationship, aside from sex being very important to have, but that conscientiousness of actually like doing things intentionally. But with the acts of service, that goes into love language. What do you think that your love language is? Well, the 5 of them, how would you rank them to you?
I've always said that my top one is words of affirmation, followed by physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and then gifts. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy all 5. But if I had to rank them, that's how it would be.
Yeah.
Things like gifts, obviously I'm a very generous person. I enjoy giving gifts too, but it's not exactly what makes me feel loved in the relationship. Words of affirmation, who doesn't like getting their ego pumped up a little bit? It's not necessarily about that. It's about just having a direct line of communication with your partner, and something like the occasional text message of, hey, I appreciate you. You're working hard, whatever. If you're at work and you receive this text message, like something like that just absolutely makes my day and makes me feel more loved than any of the other 5.
Yeah.
So just
Affirmation's
verbalizing.
Mine too.
Yeah, verbalizing how you feel to your partner. Don't take it for granted that they know how you feel all the time, and who doesn't love hearing that?
Yeah.
Physical touch is huge. It kind of ties into the sex, but also just being intimate and close with your partner. Doesn't have to be full-on PDA in public or you're attached to the hip and holding their pocket wherever you go. But it's, having that intimacy. If that's lost from me, then that can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
Acts of service, like little things like making them a tea or ordering food for them, washing their car, Doing their laundry, whatever, like those things are great too. It can
Yeah.
make you feel really supported, especially if you're in a busy household. Just the burden is lowered that much more when you have the assistance and help.
Yeah. I think it's really important for people that are in relationships or starting to get to know somebody is to know their love language, because that plays a huge role in how your relationship is going to play out. With the affirmation being both of our number ones, it works out because I'm an overthinker. You know, you want to know that he's thinking of you. I want to know that you're thinking about me. I want to know that you love me. I want to know that I'm the one that you're thinking about. So if you're in a relationship, I think that that's an important question to ask, even if it's as simple as just like even trying it out. Like, see if you send a text message and then see how they respond to it, or wash their car or go fill up their gas tank and see how they respond to it. And if you like PDA, if they don't like PDA, like then you can kind of feel it out. But if you're just like directly asking your partner, I think that's the best way to kind of like figure out who they are. Because
Right.
I'm
It's
like,
not required to have a relationship work, but it's nice when you're kind of aligned on those.
yeah.
Because then you're naturally, people love others how they want to be loved themselves. They subconsciously project their own needs and how they interact with others. So when it's naturally happening and it's the first for each of us, it just makes it that much easier, because you don't have to remind yourself the way you might have to if you're completely inverted on that ranking of love languages. But talk about it, be open, have a direct line of communication. You don't need to be coy. Take the test together, discuss it. You'll set yourself up for success if you're just on the same page about things like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be just love languages. You can just how you interact with the relationship in general.
Yeah. The thing I like most about getting to know Nashville Boy is because we had no choice but to get to know each other. And with the distance and kind of just being thrown into this situation, like, I'm glad that it is going this way, because we're having difficult conversations that people usually wait a really long time to have. Do you feel like the conversations that we've had are important to have in early relationships? Or do you feel that with some relationships, you know, some of these conversations are avoided until, you know, a year deep into the relationship?
I think it's a combination of having intentional conversations, but also just letting things play out naturally. You know, if you have good chemistry with someone, it's going to happen regardless. I would say this situation is unique because of the distance and how we met and how the cadence in which we can see each other. It's almost forced us to slow down and be very intentful in how we move forward, which has been a change for me too. I've always jumped in relationships really quickly and kind of ridden that high with the rose-colored glasses. And it's caused me to get into relationships with women that maybe if I slowed down wouldn't have gone into that relationship. You know, you kind of ignore red flags and you're so enamored, but you know, if you're in the same city, you're seeing each other way more frequently, you're interacting at a much faster pace. And so this has been a nice change to just take a step back and take it more organically, a little bit slower, and again, with just more intent. So it's been refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think is like the biggest red flag in a female for you? Like, if you were to go on a first date or a second date, what is like the one thing that you can indicate at first? Or what do you, I guess sometimes it's not even shown in the first or second date, but what is that? What is that for you though? Like, once you start to notice something is off.
There's a lot of things. The first thing that comes to mind is just what she's passionate about in her life. You can tell a lot about, anyone can say anything, but your actions are always going to speak louder than your words, is what I'm trying to say. So really how you spend your time and what motivates you, what you're passionate about, what you talk about. Like if you're on a first date, you can learn a lot about somebody just by asking some pretty routine questions and just seeing how they view life and their point in it, where they're at. You know, if a woman's talking about, you know, what she does for a living, what she's excited about in her life, that can tell you a lot about her value system, which is really the core of how you're evaluating a partner. It's really about their values. You get a lot of touch points. I mean, even how they interact with people who aren't you. If they are rude to the wait staff, to the valet, if they talk shit about their friends, other people. You know, dumb people talk about people, average people talk about events, and intelligent people talk about ideas. And that's something that I really look for when I interact with women, but also just people in general.
Yeah.
You know, if we're running the gossip train, that's not going to be as intellectually stimulating for me as if we're talking about, you know, more of an abstract idea or something existential or, you know, current events, just things that are of more substance. So red flag, when a woman doesn't have any substance, you can see that from a mile away. if all they care about is TikTok and Cardi B, then
Cardi.
it's dead in the water, right?
Cardi B, not the Cardi B. Luckily, I'm sitting here trying to think of the conversations that we were having at first. The first date, quote unquote date, wasn't really a date, and it's funny because that first quote unquote date that we had, I went into it as a friendship because I didn't know you. That was the first time I met you. So like I'm trying to think of what I even talked about with you.
We had a lot of good discussions, and it doesn't have to be, obviously it's not an immediate disqualifier if we were talking about people and events, the list I just gave you.
Yeah.
It's really just about finding out their substance and their ability to have conversation.
I don't ever stop talking, so that's not a problem.
Well, that's another thing too. If your conversation is not flowing, then maybe you just don't have the right chemistry either. If you feel like you're talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
I've been on dates like that too, where you're just pulling information out of people, or it just feels like a job interview because there's no chemistry, you can't bounce off. The art of conversation is just that. It's an art. You have to understand how to thread conversations, pick up on the nuances and the tiny details of what people are saying, and then continue to build upon that, especially when you're first meeting somebody. You start with a small talk, then you can pick up on what they're excited about, because that's what people tend to gravitate towards naturally.
Yeah.
For me, I'm always going to bring in my business and what I'm working towards in my career, because that's such a big part of my life and what I'm focused on. Where I'm pretty cultured. I've lived in Spain, Italy, South Africa. I've done a lot of traveling. I love art and food and just so many things. And I've had so many different experiences that I'm able to talk about a lot of different things with people. So,
and that's good because not everybody can do that. I mean, the people that really don't have a similar lifestyle, it's hard to share something exciting. So it's hard for some people to pull something out. But I mean, that kind of goes into, you attract who you are. You surround yourself with people that are kind of like you, right? Or like you want to be like. And with first dates, I wouldn't assume that I would ever go on a first date with like a couch bum, because I'm going to feel more, intelligent, even though I'm not as intelligent as you are. But if you're a female that doesn't have much experience as you, but it's hard for some people to find that like equal or like that thing to relate to. I'm losing my word.
You have to be intellectually stimulated by your partner.
Yeah.
Or else eventually it's just going to die out, right? Initial attraction can only get you so far. So you have to find some common values and belief systems at some baseline level to be able to continue the relationship, in my opinion.
I feel like a female needs to be with a guy that she can learn from. Like, I want to be able to learn from you. I don't want to teach you everything. Like, yeah, I'll teach you some stuff, but I want to learn from you. I don't want to have the upper hand on everything.
Well, and from a male perspective too, we want to show you those things. We want to give you those experiences. We want to feel like we can show you all of that for the first time. So if a woman hasn't traveled, well, great. Now I get to take you on trips and show you those things and give you those more cultural experiences. When a woman's been everywhere, been to every restaurant in the city, flown out to Dubai and
gets a little hard
everywhere, then she's seen all that. There's nothing to impress her. And, everybody's gonna have a different opinion on that. But
would you date a female that was like that? Or would you feel like that would be too difficult to navigate?
It depends. I mean, if I would date someone who's well-traveled and has a lot of experiences, that's not an immediate disqualifier, but I guess it gets into a different discussion about why she's in those places and how she got there.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Taking a family trip to Europe is different than getting flown out,
yeah.
To be an influencer and have everything paid for. It just depends.
I actually want to go back really quick to the body image question, but we started talking about body image and then I got off topic. But with body image, like, so for females, we look at Instagram and we're like, okay, we assume that that's what a guy likes, and I want to go and, have my body look a certain way. But with men, do you feel like you look at Instagram male models and you're like, ooh, that's probably what a girl likes, or that's what I want to look like? I don't know how to set up that question correctly. But going into like male body image.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what I was saying as men, we don't compare ourselves physically to other men as much as women compare their bodies to other women, I think just in general. However, it is interesting of kind of the disconnect of what men think women want and what they actually want. And growing up as a young man, you think, oh, well, I got to look like Gladiator. I got to look like Thor, just completely built, six-pack abs, broad shoulders, tall. And I think many men just assume that that is exactly what they're trying to attain in order to get a girl. And I was joking with Kayla saying how a lot of bodybuilders, they really end up getting more male attention in their comments from guys asking about their workout plans and how to get big, if they're running a cycle, whatever, more than girls just falling over themselves in the comments for this Hulk-like man.
Yeah, no, you would never see me comment on a bulky man's photo. That's just like so different.
And what I've learned is that, and I guess this is the benefit of men because it takes a little bit of the pressure off, is that women like a lot of different body types, the same way men do, but I think to a greater degree. Women just don't care as much about that. I mean, men are more visual anyway, and we like what we like, but it's, you see these social experiments, these YouTubers go out on the street with 6 photos of a man's body, and they say, pick which one you find most attractive. And you'll have women that will pick the dad bod over the six-pack. And as men, we're like, what? Like, that does not make any sense to us.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're viewing from our own perspective how we look at women and vice versa. But a lot of women, I don't know if they really do not care or if they just say that. I think it might be a little bit controversial, but I think some women want their partner to have that dad bod because it's less intimidating. They don't feel threatened by him going and getting another girl. It can be more of like a security, safety, comfort thing. But I've also learned that women really they don't always need what we think we need to look like.
Yeah.
Which it does take some pressure off.
Yeah. I agree. I agree and disagree because every female's different, and I don't want to put this like into this whole stereotypical whatever, but with the dad bod, I can agree with that. That might feel a little less intimidating for us, but at the same time, some females just get together with somebody because of the assets that they have. Like, they don't care what you look like. But referring to myself, I'm not one of those. But if I had like a typical body type, I wouldn't go to the buff guy. Not because I feel intimidated, just because sometimes that's a little gross. Sometimes the guys in the gym have bigger egos. Like, I don't know. I just want a guy that's like, yeah, you're taking care of yourself. You're in the gym. But I don't want you to walk past a mirror and like grunt at yourself. Like, I don't
walk through doors sideways.
Yeah, I don't. That's so unattractive to me. But I could not do a dad bod either. I don't know. But with females, it's easy for us because girls have an ass, girls have boobs. If you don't have big enough boobs, you go and get a boob job. If you don't have a big ass, you can go and get butt implants, or you can work your ass off in the gym. But some guys don't like that body type. You have like the Emrata and then you have like the Samurai. And I asked him this question and I was like, what body type do you want? Because like there's the perfect model body, and then there's like the thicker women that have like that structure and have that build. Like, what do you think is more attractive as a man? Or every man's different, I guess, but.
Well, I think there's definitely a level of social conditioning that happens. Body types have become almost commoditized and follow trends. So when we were growing up, early 2000s, you have extremely skinny, cigarette smoking, high fashion types, low rise jeans. Like, that's what was in, be as skinny as possible. And, the Kardashians came along and completely changed that. And with the rise of plastic surgery, the lower cost of it, the accessibility, and just kind of social media, it's really fueled a complete change in body types. My parents' generation, they're like, what do you mean big ass is attractive? Like, to my dad and those generations, they don't understand that at all. And our generations, you got the gym booty and, the BBLs and everything else going on now. And it's really changed. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see from a kind of a trend standpoint over time how that affects, the general population and what they find attractive.
Yeah. Skinny's coming back. Everybody wants to be skinny. Everybody's doing that shot now.
Ozempic.
Yeah, the Ozempic. Everybody wants to be skinny now. I don't know. Like, even the Kardashians, like one of them, I don't know. Like, I feel like Khloe got her butt implants kind of like shrunken down. Same with Kim. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah, I know Kylie definitely did.
In my opinion, it's here to stay. You will see celebrities reverse trend like Black China, Kim Kardashian. They're all doing it because, again, it's trendy, and just like fashion, it's going to follow suit. However, I think that mark that it's left on society is here to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at data on plastic surgery and continue to see influencers that are not just going to jump ship and abandon that. I think that's kind of here to stay.
The thing is with influencers and Instagram, though, there's like everybody wants to be a fitness influencer, but people like to argue a lot. Oh, you have butt implants. You shouldn't be selling your workout plan. I should just go get surgery instead of doing what you're doing. I don't know. I think
it's all about transparency, right? If you're misrepresenting a workout plan with surgery, then that's disingenuous to your followers. It has really skewed men's perspective, too, on what's achievable in the gym naturally. And you have a lot of bodybuilders that are on anabolic steroids, and that's a whole other conversation. It's just how that came back to society. That was not a thing 10 years ago. I mean, it was, but it was very fringe, and now you got 17-year-olds buying anabolics online to look like the Trend Twins.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally influencers who champion that, and I think that's dangerous precedent to set for men. And then on the other side of the aisle, what you were talking about with women, and it's just no shame to anyone who makes those decisions, but it's just about being transparent and not lying is I think what it boils down to.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We had a lot of good talking points today, and I love hearing your perspective on all of these. So thank you for all of that.
I'm happy to be here. I really enjoyed this. It's my first time behind the mic on any podcast, so I'm just happy to experience this with you.
I'm sad you have to go. He's leaving.
My flight's tonight. Back to Nashville.
Back to Nashville he goes. Well, we're going to wrap this up because it's getting a little long, but thank you so much to my Nashville boy. I'm not saying his name yet, but he's sitting right here. We're so happy to have him here. He will be on, I'm sure, in the coming season next year in 2024. Can you believe that? Actually, I have one last question for you to wrap this up since we are at the end of the year. I have to ask, what are your New Year's resolutions for 2024?
I think my biggest one is continuing to focus on staying present. I have a tendency to live in the future, and if you always are predicating your happiness or fulfillment on things that haven't happened yet or milestones you haven't reached, then inevitably you'll be unhappy. So just continuing to stay present, enjoy life, and trust the process of what I'm trying to do with my life, and just continuing to be intentful. I think that's my deeper resolution. Of course, I have continuing my fitness journey and just being more mindful of my health. And I've had a lot of lifestyle changes in this past year that have really benefited me, and I want to continue on that journey. So I'd say 24 is going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to it. I have a lot of things in the works for myself that I'm very excited about and looking forward to. But yes, this year has absolutely flown by.
We're spreading that holiday cheer.
Spreading that holiday cheer.
Spreading that holiday cheer. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nashville baby boy. I am so glad that you were on and agreed to doing this with me. We did not have much structure, but he had so many good talking points. He's amazing. I hope you guys learned a lot from him and had a different perspective from all of that, and definitely agree with his New Year's resolution. I think a lot of us need to work on being present, taking the time to slow down and get out of this constant go, go, go mode. And it's a hard time for all of us right now. So take the moment to stop, get off of your phone for a minute, get off of the internet, stay and be present. It's the holiday season right now. So now is the perfect time to start incorporating being present more. But that is it for the episode, you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you. You already know we end this episode with one final message, and that is stay positive, love yourself, enjoy life as it comes, and
Stop yelling.
Be present, enjoy the moment. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Merry Christmas. I'll be back before Christmas anyway. I don't know why I'm saying that. I love you guys. Okay, bye-bye.
Bro. Be fucking real, man.